Hello, friends. Welcome back to Block Bytes. 2023 has been a good year for crypto. It did not start well, but it sure will end well. In this video, I will present some of the key highlights I found interesting from this year. I have grouped these highlights into three sections: the most positive, the most negative, and the most surprising or promising. Let's start with the most positive. The Bitcoin ETF was undoubtedly the most positive news for Bitcoin and by extension, crypto this year. The biggest asset management firms on the planet, BlackRock, Vanguard, Fidelity, Franklin Templeton, and Invesco, among others, applied for the Bitcoin spot ETFs for the first time. This marked a pivotal moment for Bitcoin as we finally saw institutional finance or traditional finance pivot from anti-Bitcoin to pro-Bitcoin. Currently, 13 Bitcoin spot ETFs are awaiting the SEC's approval, most of which have a deadline of 10 to 15 January of next year. The surge of interest in Bitcoin did not stop there. Ethereum, the second largest cryptocurrency by market cap, was second in line to receive spot ETF attention from institutions. BlackRock, Van Eyck, ARK, and Invesco, and others filed spot ETF applications for Ethereum this year too. The institutions are very interested in both assets, and the pressure is piling on the SEC to decide. All this tells me that 2024 will be a massive year for crypto. Experts feel that the SEC will have to approve these applications. And with that out of the way, a lot of capital sitting on the sidelines will flow into crypto, leading to price appreciation never seen before. Another big positive was the rebound that asset prices showed. The year started with a bear market. Asset prices were not going anywhere. However, this all changed by mid-October when prices suddenly began to skyrocket. The chart shows three assets: Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. As you can see, we saw massive price appreciations in all these assets later in the year, which led to many altcoins jumping. This coincided with a lot of capital inflow into crypto. According to CoinShares, never before did crypto see consecutive positive inflows in this space for 10 weeks, suggesting a lot of buying interest, which translated into price rise. Most of the money went to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. Solana even overtook Ethereum to become a second most preferred asset for a few weeks, doubling crypto's overall market cap. Besides the increase in the overall interest in crypto, thanks to the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, the other main reason for this market upswing was the institutional interest in adopting crypto. Some notable partnerships included SWIFT with Chainlink for interbank messaging and Visa with Ethereum and Solana for payments. If there is one asset I have to pick as the asset of the year, it has to be Solana. Solana was written off by almost all the crypto community because of its involvement with the now bankrupt crypto exchange, FTX. When the former founder of the exchange, Sam Bankman-Fried, was tried in court and found guilty this year, that put additional pressure on the asset from a price perspective, and we saw it dip to single digits. Not to mention the FUD created within the ecosystem about Solana being a chain that can stop at any point given its past performance. One of the main reasons for this sudden movement was the institutional interest Solana saw. The institutions previously interested in Bitcoin and Ethereum were now looking at Solana. Van Eyck, Standard Chartered Bank, and Visa reported how much better Solana is than Ethereum and a price prediction, a novelty reserved only for the best. But all of this did not deter the builders within the Solana community. who kept their heads focused on innovation. Firedancer, the new and much improved validator client, moved to testnet. The render network shifted from Ethereum to Solana. DEXs on Solana started to become dominant. Gaming on Solana became big news. And deep-in networks like Helium and HiveMapper emerged as the top crypto adoption stories. 2023 has been a much better year in crypto regarding hacks and attacks. According to data analytics firm TRM Labs, the number of such attacks has halved this year compared to last year. Improved security measures such as real-time transaction monitoring and anomaly detection systems, as well as increased information sharing on vulnerabilities and breaches, were the reasons behind this decrease. I hope to see further reduction next year as crypto projects become more mature in their operational security practices and ensure their products are safe. Let's move on to the most negative. A crypto year would not be anything if not for negative news. 2023 was no exception in this regard. But there is something about the current SEC under Chairman Gary Gensler that puts it on the top of this list, and the only most negative, in my opinion. Since the collapse of FTX last year and the subsequent ripple effect seen throughout the crypto ecosystem, the SEC has been very active in clamping down on crypto players and companies. But this year was particularly nasty as the SEC sued prominent crypto exchanges Coinbase and Binance. The SEC claimed that they acted as illegal security exchanges and one that did not register with them. To everybody's surprise, Coinbase took them to court, but even more surprising was that the judge ruled in favor of Coinbase. The judge even scolded the SEC, saying it presented materially false and misleading information, and asked why it should not be sanctioned for misleading the court. Another case was the Ripple versus SEC lawsuit. This one has far-reaching consequences for the entire crypto space, as in this case, the SEC claimed that XRP was being bought and sold on exchanges. It was a security and not a currency. However, when the case was presided upon in July, the judge ruled that XRP was not a security when sold to public on exchanges, but only when sold to institutional buyers. And to top it off, the judge pointed out that the SEC has not been fruitful or faithful to the law. Ouch. So overall, it was a very negative year for the SEC. In some way, this was negative for crypto too, because not only were all these frivolous lawsuits filed in bad faith, but they created a lot of FUD in the market and prolonged the bear market for crypto. Finally, here is the most surprising news stories from 2023. I must include this news to remind myself that crypto is beyond the US. It is a global phenomena and requires a collective global response to regulations. In this respect, the G20 meeting under the leadership of India this year was pivotal. It was the first time all the G20 nations came together and adopted a crypto framework created jointly by the IMF and the FSB. The crypto framework lays out the good and the bad about crypto, with extra focus on the issues it can create for sovereign states and their citizens. With this unanimous adoption of the framework, the world has once again come together on a topic of great importance. Most importantly, the framework mentions that an outright ban on cryptocurrencies may not be the best thing to do. Next year, we will see some action on the regulatory front, with countries developing specific regulations based on this framework. I was surprised by the mushrooming of layer 2s this year. Since the merge happened last year, there has been a particular focus on layer 2 rollups because the merge marked a pivotal move, a pivot within Ethereum from being a sharded blockchain to being a rollup centric blockchain. But no one anticipated this sudden rise in the number of rollup projects this year. We currently have 33 active rollups, with 23 more waiting to join this list. Not only are these chains a layer 2, but some of the more prominent names like Arbitrum, Optimism, ZK Sync, and Polygon have laid the groundworks for being a rollup as a service chain. Any application that wants to transition to a blockchain can use one of these offerings. We have several apps, and even some of the layer ones like Celo and Palm chose to become layer 2. This rollup space has seen the most innovation and development activity within the crypto ecosystem. And some even say that this is only the beginning, as we will continue to see more and more applications become layer 2s. We all know that centralized exchanges are the first resort for most people looking to enter the crypto market, and for good reasons. They are easy to use, look like any other trading website people are used to, and provide a straightforward medium to purchase and store crypto assets. Coinbase, Binance, and OKX, and Kraken are some big name centralized exchanges monopolizing the entry to crypto, as there are no good decentralized alternatives available. But this has changed this year. Why? Because I started using decentralized exchanges myself this time around. Yes, if someone like me can do it, anyone can do. And from my experience, DEXs have come a long way since I last checked them. They have become more accessible, and the most significant advantage of DEXs is that you control your assets, unlike centralized exchanges. Not only that, but even the data fits my experience. According to this graph from the block, we see an apparent rise in the DEX spot trading volume compared to centralized exchanges. We will see this rise carry forward into 2024 and likely see this cross the 25% mark. So friends, here is my list of the best and the worst of 2023. I wish you all a very happy new year, and see you in the next Fresh Bite. Bye-bye.